I never thought a plastic clipboard could threaten my whole world. But let me tell you, the morning Belinda Thornberry came strutting down my driveway, smug as a cat in cream, tapping those fake nails like a mob boss, she had every intention of erasing my late wife's memory with the stroke of a pen. You ever have someone try to rip away the last thing you had left of a loved one? That's where this story begins. That shed, barely 8 by 10 feet, just humble lumber and sweat, held everything I had left of Sarah. Her rose clippers still sharp, Christmas ornaments tucked in cardboard, gloves that, if I'm honest, still smelled faintly of her lavender lotion. Belinda, our neighborhood's self-appointed queen, wanted it gone, claimed it was illegal, threatened me with a $500 a day fine, waved my city permits in my face like yesterday's trash, despite the HOA signing off 4 months earlier and passing every inspection. She lied, said the rules changed, acting like grief made me blind and dumb. But you don't get to erase someone's memory just because you crave control. Let me back up. My name's Dan Kowalski. I came to Willowbrook Estates hoping to heal 68 houses, green lawns, community pool. After Sarah passed, I figured I'd build her dream, a garden workshop where she could teach pottery to the neighbor kids. I'm a structural engineer, 30 years experience, but I was lost until the smell of sawdust and motor oil gave me some reason to get up in the morning. I did everything right. Pulled permits, hired licensed contractors, filed every document. The city inspector, Rodriguez, even said my shed was model compliance. Then Belinda decided my morning was an eyesore. Imagine a real estate Barbie with $300 highlights, a BMW always parked perfectly, smile just as fake as her nails. She ran our HOA like a dictator, and the first time we met, she called my shed adorable, but you could taste the poison behind it. She looked at my pickup, wrinkled her nose, and let me know I didn't fit. Rules evolve, Dan. Some of us have serious investments to protect. My neighbor Chuck warned me. Belinda had driven out 3 families in 2 years, always finding some way to make their lives miserable. Still, I figured with my permits, I was safe. 2 weeks later, harassment started. Rodriguez, apologetic, showed up before breakfast. Someone reported setback violations, illegal square footage. He did his job, measured everything, found it was perfect. Couldn't say who complained, but glanced at Belinda's palace across the street. Happens every week, he muttered. I stood by Sarah's shed that evening, the smell of her roses mixing with motor oil, and something hardened in me. This wasn't about building codes. It was about power, about a woman who saw a grieving widower as easy prey. But she'd picked the wrong guy to bully. Then the violation notice arrived, Belinda's signature looping across the top. Official HOA letterhead, immediate compliance required, $500 a day until I tore down my unapproved structure. The same shed she'd approved. That's the thing about people like Belinda. They gaslight you until you question your own memory. But I still had every email, every signed document. See, I remember something from legal studies. You can't yank approval after the fact, something called estoppel. And deeper in the HOA covenants, buried in Section 12.3, was a clause. Any structure approved by both city and HOA is permanently protected, grandfathered, and no matter how the rules change. I realized I had ironclad legal protection. But I also discovered something delicious. Belinda's fancy deck, built in 2017, had no permits. The HOA president herself was sitting on the biggest code violation in the neighborhood. I filed a quiet complaint. Rodriguez called, laughing. Dan, that deck's got no paperwork. She's been signing off on everyone else while her own place is a ticking time bomb. A couple days later, Belinda showed up at my door, mask on, hands shaking, makeup smudged. Dan, maybe we got off on the wrong foot, she started, then begged me to withdraw my complaint. She admitted her husband didn't know about the deck. I told her, withdraw your notice, file permits for your deck, and leave me and my shed alone, or Rodriguez processes your violation the way you wanted him to process mine. But she didn't back down. Instead, she doubled down, called an emergency HOA meeting, accused me of putting the neighborhood's children at risk, suggested, right there in front of everyone, that my shed was a danger, even a possible site of inappropriate activities. That stung more than anything. Sarah's memory twisted into something ugly. So I stood up, calm, direct. Belinda, are you talking about when you begged me not to report your unpermitted deck? The room went silent. Neighbors started checking property records on their phones. She tried to talk her way out, but the more she scrambled, the more the truth came out. Then she went nuclear, filed complaints with the county health department, fire marshal, even the IRS. Claimed environmental contamination, fire hazards, unreported business income. She wanted to bury me in red tape, force me to surrender. Next morning, a parade of government trucks lined my street. Inspections for chemicals, flammable materials, fire risks. Everyone left empty-handed, apologizing for the waste of time. Rodriguez showed up for electrical hazards in a shed with no electricity. That's when he told me. She offered me $500 to rush inspections, asked if I'd find violations that didn't exist. She tried to bribe the city. That was the twist. The moment I realized we weren't just talking about HOA pettiness anymore. She'd crossed into criminal territory. I asked Rodriguez to document everything. Then I called my lawyer, Janet Wu, to start a conspiracy case. I reached out to Chuck, got in touch with his nephew's excavation crew, and called the city planning office about agricultural exemptions for underground construction. If Belinda wanted escalation, I'd show her what an engineer could build. Janet, my lawyer, did some digging and found Belinda's election as HOA president was never legal. State law required 60% of homeowners to participate, and she'd only won with 23%. Every rule, every fine, every decision fraudulent. But it got better. Belinda had paid her own real estate company $47,000 in administrative fees from the HOA budget, all self-authorized. She owed almost $90,000 in back taxes. She was running a criminal enterprise, not an HOA. So I got creative. My property, still zoned agricultural, allowed underground construction, storage, workshops, shelters, all beyond HOA reach. I drew up plans, 8 feet deep, 2,000 square feet, reinforced concrete, full HVAC and power, a real fortress. Split the permits so no one saw the full project. Chuck's wife, Monica, helped track Belinda's vacation schedule, 3 weeks in Maui. We started digging the day she left. Neighbors joined in, electricians, truck drivers, even former Belinda loyalists like Patricia Webb, now fed up with her. We poured concrete, ran power and plumbing, waterproofed every inch. Sabotage showed up, fencing slashed, sand in the mixers, timed perfectly to Hawaii's time zone. We set up surveillance and caught nothing, but it proved how desperate she was. She called from Hawaii, voiced like a banshee, threatened legal action. I just told her to enjoy her vacation. By the time she came back, the underground workshop was done. Totally legal, completely untouchable. At the final inspection, the police, neighbors, even Rodriguez and Detective Palmer were present. Belinda, desperate, confessed everything in front of a crowd. Admitted she'd targeted me, faked elections, paid herself with HOA funds, even tried to bribe city officials. The police cuffed her right there. Mail fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. The whole neighborhood cheered as she was driven off, her designer vacation outfit looking ridiculous in the back of a cruiser. 3 months later, kids' laughter echoes from my workshop every Saturday. I'm teaching woodworking to a dozen neighborhood kids, just like Sarah always dreamed. The HOA board, now run by honest folks, returned fraudulent fines, planted Sarah's rose garden, and built a real community. Even the people Belinda used to manipulate are helping now. Chuck jokes my underground bunker will outlast the pyramids. Janet stopped by with news. Belinda's facing prison, ordered to pay restitution, banned from any HOA board forever. Other neighborhoods want me to consult for their HOA reforms. Even little Emma Palmer asked, "Mr. Dan, are you famous now?" I just smiled. Not famous, just stubborn enough to build something beautiful. At the end of the day, sitting by Sarah's photo, I realized justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet satisfaction of building what nobody can tear down. The best revenge isn't destruction. It's living well, outlasting the people who try to break you, and creating something good for others. You ever deal with someone who thought the rules only applied to everyone else? Where do you draw the line between fighting back and letting go? Drop your own story below, because, trust me, there's a lot more folks out there who've tangled with the likes of Belinda Thornberry. And sometimes, the best response isn't the loudest one, it's the smartest.